Welcome to this edition of Follow That Food, the show that takes you around the world to find the beginning, middle, and end of the world's best food stories. On this edition, we'll take you from southern Spain to Rocky Mountain Range as we follow that sherry vinegar. And it all starts here in the Spanish region of Andalusia, where the summer heat is hard to beat when it comes to growing the grapes that make valuable vinaigrette and gives this galloping gazpacho its greatness. Then we're off to London for a very sherry sea bass sensation before we hit the highlands of Aspen, where a buffalo short rib sherry roast awaits it. And finally, it's a sherry fruit pastry that's oh so tasty when topped with the Grand Reserva sherry vinegar glaze. So tune up your taste buds and purse your lips as we sample and sip on Follow That Sherry Vinegar. Hello, I'm Gordon Elliott, and welcome to Jerez de la Frontera, home to the finest sherry in the world. And when you have fine sherry, you have fine sherry vinegar.
It's an area they call the Golden Triangle. It has a very special microclimate, and really the only place in the world where you can produce authentic sherry.
This is the town that created sherry, or to be more accurate, this is the town that sherry created. You see, the perfect conditions for making sherry decided that these people would come here and nowhere else. It has the hot winds from the Atlantic just off the coast of Africa, making it humid, which is what these barrels need to soak all the moisture in and the flavors of that salt so the sherry can meet it in the wood and suck it back out during the dry winters. And then, finally, the most important ingredient of all, something that's all around us, yet invisible, the spores that create the yeast. These microorganisms that decide exactly the flavors of this sherry vinegar go into those barrels and creates the perfect sherry vinegar.
It used to be accidental, and that's how vinegar came to be. But now, obviously, it's very carefully controlled. You know, in Jerez, the tasters are the most important people in the wineries because everything is blended.
Terry is one of the oldest and most important names in the world when it comes to sherry. And for over a century, the Terry family has been perfecting their palates by blending and bottling what has become a collection of nearly 5,000 barrels of beautiful sherry. And they brought the same skills to the delicate Spanish art of making sherry vinegar. This was originally made to be wine, or was it originally made to be sherry vinegar?
It was probably made to be wine.
And in leaving it, it became fine sherry vinegar.
Right.
Most Spanish people call this a bodega, but not this family. They call this their cathedral because inside these walls are the most valuable, most beautiful sherry vinegars in Spain. And it's stored in the solera system. Solera means floor, and the oldest vinegars sit on the floor. At the top are the youngest, an average of 6 years. As they mature, they're blended with the 25-year-olds. In their words, it teaches the younger vinegar how to behave. And then finally, the oldest, the 75 years, the granddaddies. This is known as the Gran Reserva. So this has been sitting in a barrel since 1927 or so.
23.
1923.
Right.
Oh, my goodness. Well, it doesn't smell like vinegar. It smells like sherry. It didn't bite. You know, if you buy vinegar, you usually go...
No, forget it.
None of that.
Any other vinegar.
All flavor, no bite. I gotcha. All righty.
And we have the Sopapilla.
This has been lying around for 25 years.
Yes.
Okay, hasn't worked a day since the 70s. Okay.
Forget it. I'm in 70s. I was born in 75.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but just a little bit.
I may have had a little too much.
I think you tried too
I think
much.
I did.
Yeah, that's right. But it's nice anyway. I mean,
Yeah.
you get everything from its aging process
Yeah.
and the wine.
Okay, let me try this young one. What was the word you used? Grassy? Like fresh, young? New?
Four?
Well, this is something that you could throw together on a Saturday afternoon for a lot of friends. This one's a very special dinner.
It is.
Okay. And that one's when you're feeling like you want to spoil yourself. Sherry vinegar is important to Spanish cuisine because their food is beautiful but simple. The complexity comes from the dressing.
It's a product of the past when Spain was a poor country. that they learned to do these marvelous things with nothing.
A great example is this simple lunch that most Spaniards, including the Terry family, favor in this hot Mediterranean climate. And I was honored by Don Fernando and his 3 sons when they offered to prepare just such a dish. Fernando uses strictly Spanish ingredients: onions from the southern coast, white asparagus from northern Spain, and tomatoes grown locally in the town of Cadiz. He then lightly sprinkles kernels of corn and olive oil in preparation for the final moment of this Mediterranean masterpiece. Do you mind? It would be a great honor if your salad were prepared by your father, Don Fernando.
Of course. There you go.
The man who created this marvelous sherry vinegar is to adorn the salad. Okay, watch a master's hand at work, because this stuff is pretty potent. What is the biggest mistake people make when they're using your
¿Cuál es el gran
fine
problema?
sherry vinegar?
El secreto de vinagre yema es gota a gota.
Drop by drop. That's
Drop
what vinagres de yema
by
say.
drop.
By drop.
No more. So here we have a dish, while not being the most spectacular dish in the world, you think is perfect for me to get the flavors of your magnificent sherry vinegar.
Right.
Okay.
And its quantity.
But like you say, Don Fernando, it's not just a salad.
Que no es una simple ensalada.
It's something very special now.
Es algo muy especial.
Ooh, got a big bite off the asparagus. Ooh, the asparagus is full of it. Ooh. As a guest of this warm, unassuming family, it was hard to see them as they really are, which is a centuries-old dynasty of Spanish sherry making. I just felt as if I was amongst new friends, but as much as I would have loved to have stayed around this beautiful hacienda a little longer. This is only the first bite on our sherry vinegar trail. We're off for a galloping gazpacho, which combines not only the wonderful flavors of this region, but the sherry vinegar that has so much to say. So it's off to Puerto de Santa Maria I go, where this 18th century palace hotel makes the most of this region's prized product in their own botanical garden. And no less a talent than Joaquin Ramirez, the chef of this beautiful hotel, and Gabriel Gonzalez Gordon, the manager, and of course our host, is going to help us put together a magnificent example of what you can do with sherry vinegar. Now this is a traditional gazpacho?
That's right. Which is a very old and traditional recipe.
From the Andalusian region.
From the Andalusian region, of course. And the basic ingredients are bread, yeah, that you have to have it a little bit wet, fresh tomatoes, fresh green peppers, onions, cucumbers, and a bit of garlic.
Joaquin gives this vegetable medley a quick mix before adding a second dose of tomatoes and a mixture of 2 parts water to 1 part vinegar, ensuring a fluid gazpacho without an overdose of flavor.
Para triturar.
What did he say?
Ready to go.
Ready to go? That's it?
Simplemente.
Great, our 2-minute Andalusian gazpacho. So simple, even a man like me could do it. Okay, let's take a look.
Ya tenemos el
Oh wow, look
gazpacho
at the
aquí.
color in that.
Beautiful.
When would you have this in Spain? Where, anytime or just lunch?
Well, this is a very, very summery food. I would say more for lunch than dinner, no?
But we're in the south of Spain. Is it always warm here? Can you always grow tomatoes because you're so close to Africa? You're so warm?
Well, it's always, I mean, this temperature, I don't think we'll get much colder than today.
This is perfect.
This is perfect.
So,
And basically the garnish is all the products that you've done the gazpacho. But basically you put a bit of each.
okay. I'll try a little. Just for color?
Also gives color to the dish.
Okay. All right. Oh, it's fantastic.
I
Fantastic.
think it's nice.
The depth of flavor, the vinegar like rockets it.
Definitely, yeah.
Wow.
I think it's the main ingredient, the sherry vinegar. Yeah, without that, it won't be the same.
Beats V8 juice, I'll tell you. Coming up next, we'll follow our fancy fluid to here in Harrods Food Hall, where it's 100,000 square feet of fine food and where we have to follow. Welcome back to Follow That Food. We followed our Grand Reserva Gold from glass to greens to Gazpacho. And now we're heading to Harrods of London because British cuisine has long appreciated this majestic marinade. And if you're going to follow one of the finest sherry vinegars in the world, you come to one of the finest food stores. This is Harrods Food Hall in London, where they claim they can get any food from anywhere as long as it's legal. Hello, how are you?
Great, thank you.
My name's Gordon. I wanted to ask you, would you know where I could get the sherry vinegar?
If you go next door and down the escalator, it's in the pantry.
Very good, you didn't even have to look at your computer, did you? They're very clever here. Apart from being the best food hall in the world, according to the English, Harrods not only carries every brand of sherry vinegar available, they'll also help educate you by using it in any dish you choose in one of their many in-house restaurants. You have restaurants within the food hall.
That's right.
So people can buy their food and have it cooked.
Exactly.
By the chefs.
Exactly.
How many restaurants do you have?
Altogether, we have 22 restaurants within the store. In the particular food hall, we have 7. There isn't anything we can't do here regarding food.
That's a nice boast to be able to
That's
make.
right.
Well, let's see what you can do with sherry vinegar.
Excellent. So what we've got, 2 pieces of sea bass, nicely seasoned, a little bit olive oil, 1 scallop for garnish, a little bit of rock salt. Okay. Okay, and then we'll go for it on the grill. This is our cherry tomato, what we call compote.
Okay.
Then you cook very, very slowly, what we call confit. And at the very end, you get in with this nice caramelized sort of texture.
Oh yeah, baby.
And we're just going to finish it there with, we've got some spring onions that have just been quickly seared on top of the grill. We just make just for another little texture inside there.
So you got sherry vinegar in those and
Cherry
in the
vinegar
sauce.
and in the sauce.
Okay.
That's correct. What we've got here, this is our butter sauce.
Right.
We've actually done a reduction of sherry vinegar, shallots and tarragon stalks. And then we very, very slowly add some butter into that. And we end up with this nice, light, creamy texture.
Do you mind?
Yeah,
Can
sure.
I stick a
Please
finger in
do.
it?
Okay.
Oh,
Right at
rich. Lightly steaming his asparagus, Stephen is ready to plate his sea bass and sherry vinegar sensation. So anybody who comes to Harrods, you could just sit here, and if they walked up with their sherry vinegar and handed you a piece of sea bass and said, please chef, do something, you make this.
By all means. By all means.
God, the service is
problem.
unbelievable. Okay.
And there we have it. We have a seared sea bass with a tomato and onion confit, been marinated in sherry vinegar, and the sauce of a sherry vinegar and tarragon beurre blanc.
Do you mind if I have a bite before I get
By
back on
all
my
means.
bike?
By all means.
Okay, here we go. Wow, it's sweet.
That's the cherry tomato. Sweetness of the cherry tomato.
And all these dark, lovely flavours.
That's right. But with all those combination of flavours, it just brings out the flavour of the fish nicely.
Yeah. Well, actually, your onions and your tomatoes and your sherry, they're the star of the show.
That's right.
They're still singing. Thank you.
Welcome.
Well, from the unique place that we now stand in, it's perfect for sherry vinegar, we head out of here across the ocean. From the high life of Harrods to the high air of Aspen to a beautiful sherry vinegar soaked rib that the St. Regis is renowned for. As we follow that sherry vinegar next. Welcome back to Follow That Food. We followed our divine wine vinegar from España to Britannia. And now we're going to take it stateside to see how American chefs do it best in the West. Aspen has long been considered a food center in America. As host of the annual Food and Wine Festival, its inhabitants and visitors expect and appreciate the adventurous when it comes to flavors. Sherry vinegar, while an old favorite in Europe, is only just beginning to make its impact stateside. But one of its earliest and most enthusiastic fans is Chef Jason Rogers of the St. Regis Hotel in Aspen. Jason, why do you choose this vinegar as opposed to any others?
Because this is one of my favorite vinegars and one of the best in the world.
Right. And you do it in a very Colorado style, I hear. What is it you're going to do with it?
Yes, we're gonna braise buffalo ribs with it.
Really?
Yes.
Let's
So
begin.
We'll get started off here.
So why do you use sherry vinegar? I mean, what does it do for the meat and the flavor?
Well, you really want to bring out the flavor of the meat, and the sherry, actually the sherry with the age and the oak and then the gaminess of the beef actually work really well together. And in this case, as it braises, it's going to be kind of a sweet and sour. We're using the beet juice as a sweet, and of course the vinegar to give it a sour.
Okay, this is your beet juice.
Yeah.
Well, that looks fresh, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Did you just make that?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. You guys, you just do it all yourself, don't you, here at the St. Regis? Jason simmers his ribs in beet juice and sherry vinegar for over 8 hours until it reaches a consistency only he could best describe.
Falling off the bone, ooey gooey love.
He then takes his much-loved marinated meats and lays them on a canvas of baked white beans.
We'll double stack these babies like this. And then...
The crowning moment? That is beautiful. You know that's going to be good. We could become ooey gooey love machines and just rip into that. Up to you.
After me.
You'll share a couple of... Oh, no, you don't know. Let's not spoil it with...
Why eat
with
vegetables?
You why eat vegetables when you got all this meat? We're men. We're mountain men. We're Aspen mountain men, Jason.
Mountain men.
Okay. Oh. Hey? If the Spaniards knew what you were doing with their sherry vinegar, Madrid would be a desert town. They'd all be here.
Amazing.
Oh, these are some of the best ribs I've ever eaten. These are great. Sorry, do I need a napkin on my chin? Sorry. From Colorado cuisine to Southwestern sophistication, Aspen to New Mexico and Santa Fe next. Spanish sherry vinegar does have a natural home in America, in a town not only named by the Spanish kings, but once ruled by them. 400 years ago, this wouldn't be Santa Fe Township, this would be the property of King Philip I of Spain. Hey, rulers may fall, empires may crumble, but good sherry vinegar, that's always here. I love this show when it comes full circle, and in a sense we had. We started in one of the most beautiful places in Spain, but we're coming back to Mike Demas here at the Inn at Loreto in Santa Fe, which is in New Mexico, which was once Spanish territory.
Correct, sir.
But now you rule here as executive chef, and you're going to celebrate some great dishes that come from the Southwest, but still use sherry vinegar, Spanish,
Correct.
obviously.
Yes. One of the traditional desserts in New Mexico and in Santa Fe is the sopapilla, which is basically a sweetened tortilla that's deep fried, and it puffs up.
Okay, I've never seen this dish made before.
What we do is we'll start with the dough, which we use a combination of flour, milk, and yeast. This is probably the consistency that we're looking for, so we will go ahead and cover this.
What's the next part of the meal, Michael?
We are going to be filling our sopapillas with a fruit compote that is soaked in sherry wine.
Adding pineapple, strawberries, and freshly chopped mint leaves, Michael then adds sherry wine and brown sugar to concoct this compote.
And we'll move on to our pastry cream.
Bringing milk accented with vanilla to a boil, Michael blends egg yolk, sugar, and honey.
What's going to end up happening is we're going to take some of the hot liquid and add it to our egg base, slowly, making sure that we don't scramble them because we're not trying to make scrambled eggs. A good trick here is to actually touch the bottom of the bowl, and when you feel the warmth come through to the bottom of the bowl, you know that your eggs are sufficiently warm that they won't start scrambling when you add them back into the
So
cream.
it's just warm to the touch? Okay. Allowing this mixture to simmer, Michael begins to fry his sopapilla in preparation for his sherry vinegar glaze. Simmering the cepa vieja, Michael then adds all-natural honey, which in turn will take the edge off the vinegar, letting it sit and reduce. So we've got the marinated fruit in the sherry, we've got the glaze you've finished, we've got the sopapillas all ready to go, and your honey cream.
Yes.
And we're still waiting for the star to come out of his dressing room. But before we let our little star shine, Michael begins plating the dish by filling his puffed up pocket of perfection. First with his pastry cream, and then the marinated fruits. Next, he drizzles on the vinegar glaze.
And then if there's a drum roll or something that we can have.
Ladies and gentlemen, a man and his sherry. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
And if you knew.
So it's a Vegas opening.
Yeah, and it's been a long trip for him.
It has.
And just a bit on top.
That has been waiting 79 years.
Exactly, for those few little drops to come out.
Don't underestimate the power of the performance.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about rehearsal, rehearsal, rehearsal.
Exactly.
And now it's time for me to bite into this little pocket of pleasure. Oh, that's pleasure.
Glad you like it.
That's a beautiful combination of flavors.
You can't leave him in his dressing room all the time.
Can't leave him in it. Well, now he's out of his dressing room.
Yeah, there you go.
And he's taken the spotlight.
Exactly.
You know where he goes back?
Right, back
into his
the dressing room.
Of course. He's had his star turn. We'll see you later, folks. Oh, by the way, Spanish sherry and sherry vinegar were initially made popular by an act of war. When Sir Francis Drake defeated the Spanish Armada, he whipped around here to the port of Cadiz, just a few miles away, and stole all the sherry at the dockside, nearly 3,000 barrels. He went back to England and gave it to Queen Elizabeth I as a present of war. She let the country share in the booty. Ironically, it started a thirst for sherry wine and the vinegar some of it eventually became. That thirst has never ceased and has made Spain rich. Well, thanks for letting us steal a little of your time. We hope to see you again on Follow That Food.